Want to share?
You're on.
Okay. Nope, ain't got one. Sorry, no dad jokes today. I'll be better prepared next time. Okay, so this is Engage. Now, we had a class on Engage about a week ago that was kind of the basics of how you get started. I am going to share my screen. Share. And you guys can all see my screen now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to go over how to log into Moxie again. I think most of you know how. If you don't, you go in through the greenhouse and search Moxie. Once you log in, you can, Brenda says she's logged in once and never had to again. I use Chrome and save my credentials. I never have to log in again. It works pretty well, but you got to, and you may want to bookmark it so you can get back to it. But this is Moxie. Now, the tool that just got turned on is called Engage. And let me explain why there's a delay. They had a whole bunch of people trying to upload all of their contacts at once, and their servers got overloaded. So right now, the automated stuff, like if you're on my company email and you have contacts in there, are going in. If you're going to use Gmail or you want to put your Zap stuff in or other things, that portion is not on yet while they work through the issues. But I want to get you started on the stuff that we can so that you can be prepared when things get turned on. Now, one of the things you're probably going to ask is, oh, great, Greg, another tool that doesn't work as well as we thought it would. Because all these tools sound great when you first hear them. But this portion and all of these tools together talk to each other. So where in the past, if you wanted to do a CMA, you had to log in Cloud CMA and the MLS and do things. If you wanted to do marketing, you had to go to the greenhouse and click on the marketing center and so on. This thing works so that all of your contacts that are already in your email, and yes, it will include Gmail in the future, will come right in here and already be present for you. You don't have to enter them again. And then from here, I'm trying to set up so you can do a whole lot of stuff. So I'm going to click on Engage. Are we recording? Is there any way to tell from down here, Lance?
Yes, there's a dot
Yeah.
up at the top.
Yes, it's recording. Okay. So when you hit Engage, we have currently 3 tools up here. And sometime in the next week or so, we'll have a 4th tool that says websites. It's not on yet. Then you have these other things that you don't have to worry about quite yet. I have 3 modes: talent attraction, manager, and agent. You guys are only going to really have agents, so that's where I'm going to go into. So when you go into Engage, you'll see the standard toolbar up here with all the tools in it, but then you'll see this secondary toolbar down here that is for the tool Engage. And in it, you have the dashboard, people, calendar, goals, campaigns, and so on. We had a class on this last week, but I want to give you just a quick overview of this and then go into a lot more depth. Your dashboard, you can manipulate. Excuse me, hang on. Sorry about that, guys. Your dashboard, you can manipulate to be whatever you want it to be. So for example, I've got the stay and flow right at the top. And you can see over here, stay and flow is right at the top. Maybe you'd rather have sales flow at the top. Well, I'm going to move it up there just so you can, I click on it, hold it, and move it up. And sales flow is now at the top. This is going to show you how many people you're marketing to, How many people are prospects? Prospects means people that you're not currently working with, but you think you could. Say someone came through an open house and you put them in here, they'd be a prospect. Actives, people I'm currently showing houses to or listed. And then pendings, people that have turned into pending. And then the sales flow drops down. But you can make this in the order that you want it. So on the dashboard, you have your activity feed. How many people have opened up my neighborhood news? 4 yesterday. The to-do list, both by my tasks, which are things I've added, or transaction tasks. I'll show you how you get transaction tasks shortly. Your calendar. I don't know if this is going to sync it that fast because of all the things I got going in and out of here, but you can view your calendar and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Your goals. Have I earned my GCI goal yet or not? Now let's talk about GCI goal ever so quickly, because when you first log in, you're going to be asked to set your GCI goal. If you look at the MLS and you say, I sold 4 million last year, and I want to sell 4.5 million that next year, that would be a production goal. Much like this GCI goal is a production goal. You would take the 4.5 million, multiply it times 3%, and that's going to be your total GCI. This is not going to tell you how much money you made. This is going to tell you how much production you want to make. Year-to-date sales stats, how many active and pendings you have, and how many sold. I've sold 2 houses in forever. One was my son and one was my daughter, okay? But you can rearrange this however you want it. I like the sales flow in the top, and here's why. This little gear, whenever you see a gear around something, tells you you have an adjustment you can make. If I click on that, I can say, well, how often and who do I want to show up in this list? It's only going to show you 5 people a day. Now, do I want every 30 days people I haven't talked to? Every 90 days? Do I want to assume that if they're pending and active, I will be talking to them often enough? Maybe I want new people to show up in here. Or I can add other categories. That's who's going to show up in this little section. Let me explain a little about why I like Moxie. Moxie says your sphere of influence is your most important source of business, period, bar none. It's where a majority of your business is coming from. They want to help you figure out how to take care of that sphere without letting them slip through the cracks. When you're buying Zillow leads and you close 4 out of 100, it's real easy to be calling 96 people and feeling busy. But are you focused on the people that really are going to get you business, or are you chasing leads to stay busy? So I'm going to close the little arrow now and let's go back. So in my list, they're recommending to me these 5 people are somebody you might want to reach out based on the parameters you told us. Does that make sense? And all I have to do is I can skip them. I can mark done as I've reached out to them, which I have Jody and Jeff, and I can make a note and I can say that it's complete. And I can't see the bottom of my screen because how everything is down here. Oh, I've got to write something. They are happy. Login complete. I'm done. Now I've got 4 more people that I could look at. So again, you may say, I want this to pop up for me because I want to know who I've not talked to. You may have different categories than I picked. You may not want to see this at all and put it at the bottom of your list. It is your choice, but they're giving you tools that will help you figure out who to talk to and when to talk to them again. So that's kind of the dashboard that I wanted to show you. Item 2, people. most of you who are on my company email, that means not your own Gmail account, not your own Yahoo, whatever, you should already have people in here. If you don't, we'll get and start working on it. For those of you who are on the Zap project, very shortly, we should be uploading, they're thinking by the end of this week, but they've been saying that for 2 weeks, your Zap contacts. When your Zap contacts come in here, you'll have more people. Now, some of those may already be duplicated with what you have in your Office 365. So you just kind of have to play with that. If you've never been on Zap because you're a new person like Cindy, thank God that you never had to hear of Zap, okay? And just go, don't need to know about Zap. But when I click on My People, and I may go back to overview for a minute, just now that I'm thinking about things. Erica had raised her hand. Erica, speak.
Hey, so like if we put people in here, I have a client that I sold a house to, but he has since already sold that house and moved out of state. So if we put people in here, like, does it have a way that we can archive it and just say, I'm not keeping in touch with him anymore. He's not planning on moving back to Kansas kind of thing.
Yep, and I will show you that in a minute.
Okay.
So I went back to people overview. And right now it tells me that I have 2 in the sales flow, 3 prospects, 0 active, and 1 pending. And it's got a little fire thing there, and I bet it's telling me, hey, you've been ignoring them. They've got people that I've recently looked at. They have people that they're recommending actions to. Should I subscribe them to the neighborhood news or not? And I'm going to get to that in a minute. I just want to show you this. So there's 2 ways to look at all your people. My people, view full list. Either way will get you to the list that I think you should be going to next. And there's a madness to my method, so trust me on this one. When you look at people, it's going to tell me these are who I have in there and so on. I've got a lot of people in there. I can select all, I can sort them, and I can do other things. But they're not sortable when they first come in here because for the most part, you guys haven't categorized your people. And if you didn't categorize them, you may have done it in a way that didn't show up in the ways that make sense to this program. So there's this nifty little Categorize Wizard over here. When you click on the Categorize Wizard, it brings up the list of people that you have yet to categorize. And it brings them up 6 at a time. It's telling me I've got 322 left. So we're going to click on one and take a look at it. The first one will be John Fulston, my ex-lawyer, now a client. So I click on client. Well, how do I want to make him a client? Make him a seller prospect, a buyer prospect, or create a marketing plan? Well, I'm going to make him a seller. Okay, when I click on that, I'm done. It's that easy. Janet Heckert. She is not a client. She's one of my vendors. So I click on non-client. Is it a personal contact? Is it a collaborator? Or do you want to remove them from Engage altogether? There's sort of your answer, Erica, but I might want to keep them in my contact list, even though I'm not, they aren't a client. So I'm going to put collaborator. Let's do Anita Erpertz. She's our accountant. I'm going to remove her from Engage. Now, here's why I would more or less keep people as collaborators. When you move them from Engage, you got to click more buttons. I don't like to click more buttons. But that's it. I'm all done. And I've just categorized those 3 people. You'd be surprised how quickly you can start going through these folks and getting them categorized. Get the microphone.
Once you categorize them, can you put additional information regarding who they are?
Yes.
Any conversations you've had with them?
Yes.
Can you put tags on them?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to go look at a contact in a minute, but I'm just trying to first say, let's get them categorized so you'll know what to do with. Once they're categorized, then that means you can start working with them. Lance.
Do we have the flexibility to add our own categories? Is there a way to, or we have to stick with what Moxie has here?
I don't know yet, but I will say this. In terms of this quick wizard, this is the only way you can do it. These are your choices. Now, whether you can add something later or not, I don't know. Different categories. I believe you can, but for the wizard portion, this is the fastest and easiest way I know to work through them.
So collaborators are also vendors? Is
I
that
would
what
say
you were-
collaborators or anybody who is not a client. Could be vendor, it could
how do
be
you
other
identify?
real estate agents.
How do you identify them as a vendor or a person, like an attorney is not a vendor?
We'll get to that in
Okay.
a little bit. What I'm talking about right now is how do I set them up so that I can start using the rest of the program? Okay. Any more questions or something in the chat? Once in, do they automatically set up for the newsletter? No, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay. So let's stop there that everybody knows, yes, we can get them in a category or at least an initial category, right? Okay. If you have any questions along the way, these people on chat are there from like 6 in the morning till 7 or 8 at night. They are very quick on responses and they are very thorough at your level of the program. I find when I start asking them broker questions, they get a little more confused. They are very versed on what you guys are doing. And they not only lead you right there, they get screenshots and they stay with you until you're done. Okay. So let's go to campaigns for a minute so that you'll understand why categories are important. In my campaigns, I have 2 campaigns that are running. I have, or 4 campaigns that are running, 2 campaigns that are waiting setup. One running campaign, I'm sorry, and 1 archived campaign. None of them paused. Now there's a reason. When you guys log in, you will see this is blank. What you have to do is add from library. And I'm taking you through this so you'll understand why the categories are good to get initially set up. If I want to add from library,
Brenda, how are you?
hello? When you add from categories, you have campaigns, blasts, and emails. Campaign,
Okay.
somebody's talking in the background. Is there a question?
Yeah, crap. It's okay.
Please mute yourself. We can hear you. So when you push on campaigns, you have all of these that you can't see well because my screen is shrunk down. Holiday e-cards. Well, you can preview it if you want, but just trust me, that's holidays. Seasonal home maintenance, buyer warm prospects, seller warm prospects, recently closed seller, a new lead, holiday e-card edition. These are fairly limited right now because my job, I think up front, was to get you something in here that you could start using. And we will create more throughout the year, and you can create more throughout the year. But at least right now, you have something you can go to. So I'm going to add Holiday Greetings e-card pet edition. I could preview it if I want, but I'm just going to add it. And it takes a minute. Oh, there it is, copy to. Now it says awaiting setup. And I've got 3 campaigns that aren't running and they aren't set up. Why aren't they set up? Because I haven't told them how to set them up. So let's scroll down to holiday e-card, preview edition, copy 2, and I want to set this puppy up. So I'm going to click on it. I hope I'm clicking in the right, because it says. Exactly. And yes, it's thinking for a while. Okay, so when it comes in, it says recipients, create a list. Here's all of the emails that would go out. I can click on them and look at them. So if you want to know what Valentine's Day would look like, preview, there's Valentine's Day.
You said that you set this up for us already?
More or less, yeah.
Okay, because all of mine says previous.
Well, remember what I told you, you had to go into campaigns, add a campaign.
Sorry to interrupt. What was the question in the room?
Lynn said they're not set up in hers, and I'm saying yes. Remember, first I went and I said campaigns. I had to add it. Then you select the ones you want to put in there. But I went through all of these emails to make sure they were relatively appropriate for us. So at any rate, I've got this now and I have to set it up. Setup means, how am I going to distribute this? Well, in this case, I have no recipients added yet. We're going to look at a different campaign in a minute, but I'm going to add recipients, and it's going to bring up a list of, well, everybody in my thing in there. Well, maybe I don't want it, and I don't want to click off box by box. So I click on groups. Now I can choose from, as Lance was asking, do you have other people in there in your groups? Yes, I have builders, business associates, family, global address, personal, recruits, people I'm recruiting to, or I can put all current contacts and it will go to everybody. So now there are some campaigns like the Animal E-Edition. I might want that to go to everybody because it's cute. Might not, but I have to have a group in there.
How do you put people into a group?
That's what we were doing in that wizard. Remember at the beginning? Are they a collaborator or are they?
Yeah, we didn't see the options.
Yeah, those options aren't in there.
And the options aren't in there when you're setting up the wizard, when you're dumping all your
Right.
those options aren't all in there when you're setting up the wizard and dumping all your contacts into Moxie.
Because, and when you pull them in, you may have had them in a variety of places in Office 365 that may or may not read. You understand?
So the question is then is you have to go through each individual contact and put them in assign them into the groups that you want them in.
If it were me, I would start off going through everybody and saying, are you a seller contact, a buyer contact, or collaborator? And then you can go through the collaborators and start subdirecting them down later as you go. Yes. That's what Greg would do.
I just tried to do my initial 6 that were on the screen. And when you do collaborator, then it doesn't give you those, like,
That's
per
correct.
agent. So where do you find those?
That is more in the people section. So if I were to look at, let's see, who's a good one too? Wes. Okay, see, I start typing in a name in the search bar, Wes Gallion. Now I'm looking at Wes's individual person sheet. So where I'm leaving you through this process to get started, not to fine tune. Once you've got the started process, now let's fine tune some. I've got Wes's information in here, his email address. He's designated as a collaborator. If I want to edit this page, then under here, I believe, personal profile, he's a collaborator. Boy, where did I add him as a builder?
Is it under relationships?
If you do learn more beside it.
That's not in there because it would say it there. Relationships would be his family. Personal profile, boy, I've got to remember where I put that.
I saw something before you clicked edit, like if you go back out
Okay.
on the left-hand side, all the way at the bottom, where it says groups.
Groups. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
So in groups, these are either I've added to them or they were in there before, or I want to make a new group. And there is a place where you can edit your group, I believe, right here. Let me get back there. So please understand the process I'm trying to get you to. There is a way for you to do a lot more by going to the gear setting and your engage settings. So Lance asked, good question, can I set up my own groups? This preferences page that I got to by going to the gear, I hate that it brings up email every time first. And engage settings lets me fully customize this. How do I want to get to leads? What do I want my task manager to look like? And I believe this is where my groups are, right here, groups. First, it's going to verify the groups that you have in Office 365. And here's everything that I already had in there. Save or cancel. And then I believe there is a way, which I forgot how at the moment, to add other groups. So it's going to pull them in, Lance, yes. Now, I want to go back to campaigns for a minute, because there's some different things in here. Recruiting test. You see if this is where I want to be. And yeah, but I can still get to it. And by the way, see, it says your open rate or all that. God, Greg's trying to remember how these things work. Okay, so when you set up a new campaign or you set up a campaign that is already set up this way. And I'm not trying to get too deep right now. I'm more than anything trying to show you how to get started with it. I've been trying to give an in-depth. You can set up a recruiting test and make a campaign like they have campaigns on your house just sold. Those kind of things don't go out on the test like it's an e-card and all that. It says the day after the house sold, they get their first email. 30 days later, they get their second email. And those are set up from things that are called triggers. I'm not trying to give you the class here. I'm just giving you an overview. So in a sense, when you say labels and groups and so on, you can set this up so that everybody gets an e-card. When you change a person from closed, from pending to closed, they automatically get set on the next drip email because you've triggered it. And we'll get into that. Right now, I'm trying to get it ready to get there. Does that make sense? Okay. Why you're doing these things. So one of the things that Lance has been extremely interested in, and one of the things that, again, we're trying to get to, why do they have certain groups versus labels, is this task manager. So I do not have the ability to set up a company-wide to-do list. They have a to-do list built in here for you. You may not like their to-do list. So for example, let's say that for every lead that you get in, any lead that you input or comes from Zillow, you have a certain list of things you want to do. As soon as they get marked lead, they can be marked this marketing plan. I'm going to stay out of that one for a minute. I want to look at a buyer plan. Lance and each of you, I recommend, go into Engage, Preferences, Task Manager, and look at these plans and say, I want to use it. I don't want to use it. I need to customize it to make it work for me. And you have those choices. So in the order of things I'm giving you, get your contacts in there, work through them to get them marked into a category, worry about the groups a little bit later, and then let's look at these marketing plans. So in the marketing plan, they have the prospect tasks, the active tasks, and the pending tasks. And they say, well, if the buyer plan, we have taken him to, we're going to get a meet and greet. Well, I don't want to do the meet and greet. I'm going to get rid of it. It's gone. There are a couple of tasks in each plan that I am not allowed to get rid of. And I have complained and I'm still working on them. One is create the buyer's presentation, which I figure you've already done. And two is create a Docusign transaction room, which we don't use Docusign or Transact. So I'm just telling you, I can't get rid of them. But everything else that's currently on the list and that they have defaulted on the list, you can move. You can change how many days you want it. Maybe you want this to go down to day 23, update, and you've just changed it. So you can make the plan the days you want. To add tasks, you would click here. You can create a brand new one that you write in on your own, or you can select from all the tasks that they currently already have in here and add it. So either way, you can make this list as complicated as you want and as date as you want driven, or you can make it as simple as you want. But the idea and the progression is this. I have a brand new guy just walked through an open house. I want to try to land him. So I'm going to set a set of tasks that I want to do along with a drip email. And maybe one of the tasks is make sure he's on the drip email. It starts going out. I want to call him a week later to see if he's had any luck or if he's found an agent yet. As you create these tasks, and they get assigned to people based on the trigger. I'm a buyer agent. I've already moved them to pending. Here's your next step. Then when you go back to the dashboard, you're going to see in your, which I moved down a little bit, in my to-do list, what are my transaction tasks? And it says, well, I didn't submit the paperwork. I better get on that. I didn't update the title work. I need to do that. And so all these things start popping up that you should be doing for all your clients. Does this make sense? Okay. Next.
Is there, real quick, is there a way to sort that, or is it just
Is there a way to what?
sort?
It's sorted by date. I do not believe right there you have a way to sort it by client. It says it's overdue. It doesn't care who it's for. It cares that you said you wanted to do a task. You're not. At least here that I'm aware of. Calendar. I'm leading you through the progression on purpose. This calendar is the same one that's on my phone in Office 365. It's pulling in all the tasks that are on that, plus all the things that I've said I want to show from the transaction tasks, house anniversaries, birthdays, and so on. It takes a minute to assemble all that. If I want, I can turn off some stuff. Do.
While we're waiting on this, what contacts are actually going to come over from Office 365? I don't keep any of my contacts in there. It's all, I just use it for emails.
Only contacts that you physically put in there. If you have no contact,
I don't think it's true either, because it's already loaded a number of names on mine when we first pulled it up, and I'm like, why is this person in here?
I'd have to go back and look at your Office 365 to tell you. I'm going to leave this calendar thinking for a while and show you a little bit something else. That the calendar, that's what they've been struggling with because of how many people's doing it. I was on, you may not have gone yet, and they're still working in the background to fix that. Mine went, we're a beta testing this. Mine went pretty early. Sanders got 750 in there. Yeah, oh, you're waiting for it to sync on your computer. It can take overnight even. Okay. So
Can you sync your Gmails or Yahoo accounts to this?
not
calendar?
yet. Gmail, yes. Yahoo, no.
Okay.
But I do want to show you something in the calendar here. Birthday, English message, auto on, auto add. English is auto add. Where is the place that allows me to say?
Can I interrupt?
Yes, go ahead.
Everybody was worried about how to sync the calendar. If you sync anything else to the Outlook calendar, it's going to sync to Moxie, correct?
Correct. And in fact, all those tasks that I just set up, that's what I wanted to do. Let's not worry about this calendar right now. If we look in Task Manager, on task, I'm on leads, task. And I scroll down to, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm going to have to go look and I will send out an email later. There is a way to sync all of these tasks over to your Outlook email calendar. So if it will pop up in that calendar as well as in here, as well as they talk to each other. Now, I'm not seeing where that setting is at the moment, and I'm terribly sorry. I'll have to go find it. So I know I've gone through a lot here this morning, and no, I was not trying to tell you the end all do all in campaigns. I would add a couple. I would read through them to see if you like them, because you can delete some or reword the ones in your account that you want to. You don't have to use what we prepared. Tags.
Somebody that wants 1 to 5 acres versus 100.
Let me work on that in just a second. Okay. So if I pull up the AB laws, what I was trying to get through today is do several steps, but let's look at a person for a little bit. You would probably use groups like you're talking about tags. Maybe not, but.
So if you use groups as a tag, then, and you want to send out a campaign, would you have to identify the different groups with a comma between it? Or would you have to send out a campaign per group? How does that work?
What you're really talking about is a listing notification to a certain group of people that it's a little bit different than I had thought of. Yeah, I need to think through that one. So bear with me a minute. But you notice I can put notes in here, and this will sync also to the notes that go back out to Office 365. activity. This is where I assign them to various plans, and do I need to create a custom activity for them? Favorites and saved. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But somebody had asked about newsletters. Okay, the newsletters that these people use are basically what Cloud CMA did for a home beat. Okay, we all got that. So the only problem that we have then is, how do we decide how big of an area we're going to send each person? So it's a little more difficult to send out these newsletters if you try to narrow down past a zip code. I can search for people with zip codes and send them all out with zip codes. You probably don't want to do that because zip code's really big. So you literally, like we had to with home beats, you're going to have to add a subscription, and you can do quick or targeted. And that means you need to know their home address. Again, sorry, Sandra. But if you can remember even remotely where they bought a house, then I want to go over here. I want to go, I could go by school zones if you know their school they went to, or I could draw a circle. Yeah, that's a circle. Go next. And I'm done. If you're going to do it by zip code, you can add a whole bunch of people quickly, but I think you're all going to go, no, I don't want to do that. This goes out monthly, and it's pretty decent little, and you can even see what the email is going to look like and what the full report is going to look like. Now, you don't have to get too far ahead on this one if you don't want to do it yet. Keep in mind, my goal today was get them categorized, make sure the campaigns are something you want to start using. If you don't, edit them. Make sure your tasks are in the order with the things that you want. And then you can start using your database by sending out the newsletters.
How do you import a CSV file?
A CSV, you can't yet. You will be able to, but not yet. That's part of the issue they're having. So we're an early adopter, so we can help them fix these kind of things.
If I remember correctly, like this portion that you're going over that talks similar to home beats, there isn't any way to adjust the timing that goes out. It's going to go out every 30 days.
Every 30
You can't
days.
Change that.
No.
Yeah, my only concern is that it's going to rub past clients the wrong way. I'm hitting them up every 30 days.
I thoroughly understand. I've suggested that I want to change. They are working through all the little changes. So I've suggested several things they need to do, including me have the ability to make a company standard task list. I don't get to do that either. So there are things that I'm working on. But let me say this, in all of the systems I've ever viewed ever, I've never seen one so completely integrated with so many different tools at one time to save you from having to go here to do this and here to do that and here to do this. Let's see, was there anything else that I wanted to show you here, favorite?
Hey, Greg, since you're on that one that has 2 people, is there a way to put 2 email addresses in there?
I believe so, yes. Let me look at their
Okay.
profile. I won't swear to it, but
Well, the unfortunate thing is, fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know, but like if I'm going to market to a married couple or, people that are living together, if they decide to not be together anymore, if I've continued to market to both of their email
Sure.
addresses, then perhaps that helps me get 2 clients instead of 1.
so I'm on profile. I go to edit. It's got their name. Well, just a minute. One question at a time. It has email addresses, add an email, remove one, and so on. You can
Okay.
add addresses, it's, relationships, people in their family. Label name. Use the label name when creating mailing labels for your clients. Add anything you'd like to appear on the mailing label instead of the first and last name, the Campbells, Bob and Dottie, etc. So this can be used to make a mailing label. Okay. So I can't get a show of hands for the people online and for those on the recording, but let me ask you this and verbalize your answer online and in classroom. How many people here use the Collaboration Center in the MLS?
I do.
I
Everybody-
do.
Everybody in class?
I do as well.
Okay.
I
So,
do
hey,
not.
who said I do not? I'm just curious.
Sharon.
Gotcha. Okay, Sharon. No problem. I don't tell anybody how to do their business. I was just curious. So here's my problem with Collaboration Center. First, you have to log in and enter all the data again, and then you have to set up a search. And then it's not very pretty or easy for the clients to use. They don't have a dedicated app, and it doesn't work with GPS. So we're setting up a private Collaboration Center. It will be tested at the end of this week, is what I've been told. The private Collaboration Center will have a button right on here that pulls in all your clients' info and takes it over to the Collaboration Center for you. In the Collaboration Center, you can do a full MLS search with every field the MLS has in it searchable. So you're asking about people who want 5 acres or more. You can set up a collab center for everybody who wants 5 acres. We'll get an email as soon as it goes in the MLS.
Yes, but I'm talking about follow-up, staying in touch and that type of thing.
I know, and I don't know how to do that yet,
Gotcha.
but let me keep going on that. That program updates its data every 5 minutes. There's no other program out there that does it every 5 minutes. I think Realtor.com is every 8. So it's fast. It's prettier full, and clients can only get into it if you invite them, much like the Collaboration Center. They can set up their own searches a little easier than you can in the Collaboration Center.
And just to verify, they're going to have all of the same fields that the MLS has.
They have 100% of the fields the MLS has. When they present a listing to a client, they have machine learning that decides what's pictured in the MLS picture. So they put the kitchens together, the master bedrooms together, the smaller bedrooms together, the basements together. So when you have side-by-side comparison of 2 or 3 listings, all the pictures go straight across and you can compare the same rooms at the same time.
Do those pictures have to be labeled to do that?
No, machine reads them and decides what they are.
Oh, okay.
So what I'm trying to do, and we are definitely the first company in town to bring this in.
What's that?
It's called Real Scout. It's kind of like our own personalized collaboration center that's as fast as one Paragon has, but it's a lot better presentation and a lot less duplication in that these 2 programs talk back and forth instead of you having to log into one then the other. It's a lot more user-friendly for the, let's see. Who can see your messages? Recording on. Everyone who is on the recording can see the messages, I believe, Marie. Sometimes there. Oh, Marie said sometimes, got it. These are kind of weird little messages. So that's what I wanted to cover today. If you're on the company email particularly, let's get in, categorize your people using that wizard. One more time. My people. And remember, categories are different than groups. Boy, this machine's slow today. Go to the Categorize Wizard and start working through the people to label them. Are they a seller or a non-seller? At least if you split them in those two, you've done well. So we'll go through Hillary again. She's a non-client. She is a collaborator. Janice Hilliard. We'll call her a client, and I'm making her a buyer prospect. And this is just kind of a quick to get them into a category. And then we'll figure out the groups later, and we'll work on the campaigns. I'm still suggesting go to campaigns. Yours will be blank. Add from library. See all the ones that are already in there. These aren't ones that you have to create. I'm just saying, get something ready. You may say, I want to do recently closed right away, because as I start closing things, I want people to get set up so they start getting something. Well, if that's true, then you want to make sure that these emails are something that you actually want to go out. If you don't like them, let's fix them for you. But this will let you preview them, go down through the little, how it looks and so on, what the message is. And then we'll worry about the assigning them, turning them on and so on, getting them running next time we meet. Does that sound good to everybody?
So can you back up to where you're categorizing clients?
Sure.
So
Maybe if my mouse starts working again. Come on, click mouse. Some of the speed here is this computer too, just so you know. But Categorize Wizard is where I suggest you go. Okay. Okay.
okay, so let's say let's use Jim Hodge. I don't know who he is, but let's say that if it's a client,
Mhm.
go ahead. So click on client. All right. So Jim is a past client.
Uh-huh.
He's not a seller prospect. He's not a buyer prospect. He just bought the house, let's say 6 months ago.
Okay.
So I'm going to put him where?
Well, I'm not sure. Let's try create marketing plan. Past
Okay.
seller, past buyer, past seller and buyer, none of these.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Thank you for pointing that out. I hadn't gone through that.
Under my, I just categorized my first 6 or while we were sitting here. And now I've already got recommended actions, and it looks, I don't know if I've got this person in here twice because I haven't added anybody other than what's been in my email. But how do we, if we have a contact, I'm afraid because I have 764 people that are in here from my Outlook, which I've never categorized because I'm unorganized. They're just people I've emailed at some point. And once my Zap gets integrated, I know I'm going to have multiple contacts. How do we delete multiple? Do you know that?
If I click on David Hill, I can go down here at the bottom, remove from engage. That doesn't remove him from anywhere it came from. That only removes him from here. That's one way. Another way is if I'm looking at uncategorized here, and I say they're a non-client, I can remove from gauge here. So if I have duplicates here, let's say I had David, and I've had several that were in here 3 times. The email messed up. I didn't know I had them in there. And I just remove them from engage and move on.
So there is no way to keep it from dumping everything in from your emails.
Here's my understanding. It had nothing to do with the emails. They were only looking at your contact file. You say you have 0 contacts in yours. I need to see this because I'd be impressed if that were true. But according to them, it does not pull any information from just email because they don't know the people's name or anything else from an email.
I've not categorized anybody, and I've got 764 in here, so that's not correct.
Okay. I'm just telling you what they told me. sure. And by the way, it pulled in 500 for me. I promise you, I've got a lot more people on my email than 500. I've got somewhere around 15, 2,000.
Go back into the profile on one of those.
On one of those, okay. Okay. Now, when you click on their profile and they're not categorized, it's telling you right up front, is this client or non-client? What's your question?
I was just looking there to see if there was a place there, if you edit, to take them out,
Right at the bottom, remove from engage.
but to actually edit them, that you remove them totally there if they were a duplicate.
No. Because it's not going to want to blow up your original source. You may have had them in there for some reason. You can also just add people right off the gun and write them in here. If you add people, it pushes out to your contacts. It goes both ways.
I was just looking at my Outlook and I went under this people section and there's 7. And those 7 did come over to Moxie, but I have emailed hundreds.
Right.
So how do the people that I've actually emailed come over?
They don't. It's looking for contacts. So all I'm trying to do is right now is get you guys started on categorizing your contacts, reading through the transaction plans and so on. You know, it's like anything else. You can't start from day one and go back for everything you've ever done in the history of life. We are trying to get it to sync and do as many things as possible. So with that, are there any more online questions? Okay, if there's no more ongoing questions, then I'm going to stop recording.